It's official. PWCC is now Fanatics Collect. But what does this mean for you as a collector? What's happening with the PWCC Vault? What's happening with PWCC's auction and fixed price marketplace? Some of it is changing, but in what ways? And what does the future hold? We're going to get into all of that today with Nick Bell. Nick is in charge of Fanatics Collect. He's also in charge of Fanatics Live. And will there perhaps be some integration with Fanatics Live and Fanatics Collect in the future? There's a lot to dig into, and I'm about to bring him on the program to ask him all of these questions and more. And before I do, let me remind you that if you're going to be at the National, which is just around the corner now, make sure to visit our sports card investor booth at the National. We're doing our Card Kids Trade Zone again at the National this year. Cards HQ will be at the National as well. Please come say hi. And if you've got kids, send them to our trade zone to trade with other kids. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see you there. But let's jump to our interview today. Without further ado, welcome Nick Bell from Fanatics. Nick, welcome to the Geoff Wilson Show.
Thanks for having me, Geoff. I'm excited to be here. I'm a long-time watcher, so.
I appreciate it. I'm excited to chat with you as well. I like the fact that you have a background from Silicon Valley, Snapchat, and Google, and you're bringing innovation into the sports card space. So I'm curious to hear more about that. This is obviously a huge week for you. We've got Fanatics Collect, going live. PWCC is kind of now on this. Well, I guess the migration's officially complete over to Fanatics Collect. Let's start there. Why is PWCC becoming Fanatics Collect? What is the impetus for this?
So it's been about a year since we acquired PWCC. Our intention was always to brand it a Fanatics business. I think for us, it was important to kind of live with the business for a little bit and spend time with customers and the collectors that were already PWCC customers and really understand what they wanted from the product, right? And really understand where they wanted to take the business. At the end of the day, we're here to serve them. I think we also wanted to make sure that the service levels of the business were worthy of us kind of rebranding and make sure that we really honed some of those service levels. So when you think about things like how long does it take to get a card in the vault? How long does it take to retrieve a card from the vault? How long does it take to get something shipped to you? All things that we care deeply about and we've invested heavily in. So if you look at the business today, it takes a couple of days to get a card into the vault. It takes a couple of days to get a card out of the vault. And we think those things are just really material and important to build trust and to build a service level which is going to get people coming back, getting people to trust us with their most prized possessions. So we wanted to get some of those things right first. And then obviously, we wanted to build a product and it takes time to build a product. So first of all, we listened to the customers, then we started building, and now we're ready to unveil Fanatics Collect and the first version of that, which we're super excited about. But I will reiterate that this is like just the first step. This is the foundational step. As a business, Fanatics is obviously long on trading cards, right? So we see this as a multi-decade sort of journey for us at the minimum. And this is the very first step towards that. But we're excited to share it with everyone.
Yeah, super cool. And I want to dig in more about what that means and what the future holds. I do want to let the audience know I am a big PWCC customer myself, and this is not a sponsored video or anything of that nature. But I actually just looked at my dashboard on PWCC the other day, and I've sold $992,000 worth of cards on PWCC so far this year.
We need to get you over that milestone. When you do, Geoff, we'll send you something nice. We'll send you something.
I'm close. So I've done quite a bit of business on PWCC. I can attest to the fact that it has definitely gotten better in terms of turnaround times. I've seen it on things like getting the payments out, for example, like getting paid for the auctions and then getting the payments into your account. That process has sped up over the last couple of years, and certainly since you guys have gotten involved. And so it's definitely good to see that that progress. So you said you've kind of lived with the business for about a year with Fanatics owning PWCC, and now it is time to make this shift to Fanatics Collect for the customer. At this point in time, what does it mean that it is now Fanatics Collect? What is different, if anything?
Well, obviously, you mentioned this several times. The brand is going to be different, right? So PWCC is going to be sunset. This will become Fanatics Collect. All of the same major services exist. So, vaulting, the Premier auction, the weekly auction, the buy now marketplace, all of those services and products still exist. But we've invested heavily in making those experiences more streamlined. We really want this to be the best place to buy and sell, right? So we've spent time listening to customers and really figuring out what their pain points are. One of the great things about PWCC is every card is authenticated. Every card goes through the vault today, so you're guaranteed to receive the card as listed, and if not, we stand behind that. And I think it's about building upon that. So one of the things that we heard from our customers was that our mobile apps were not as performant as they should be. They were slightly clunky. They didn't include everything all the services that were provided on the web. They were slow to load. So that is going to be one of the significant enhancements from launch, which is a new Android app, a new iPhone app, which are much more performant, much more streamlined, redesigned, and really leaning into making this the best place to buy and sell. I think the second thing that is key here is we're really leaning into the buy now marketplace. So, I think what we heard from customers and collectors was a lot of the pricing in buy now marketplace was like above fair market. So we've done a lot of work in both the listing flow and also in the inventory that exists on the marketplace to really try and bring much more better, more fairly priced inventory to that marketplace. So we think that's going to be a big improvement. We've also announced that, we're reducing our seller fees. So any card under $120, there'll be a flat seller fee of 6% now. So really trying to incentivize people to buy and list on the fixed price marketplace. And then when it comes to the auction, I think that's been an incredible strong point for PWCC over the past few years, leaning into that more, making that an easier experience, and just making a more streamlined experience. Things like notifications, the improving of discovery, and we think that's going to really aid sellers with listing, but also aid, more importantly, buyers being able to find what they want and follow the cards that they want as they're progressing through the auction. So just making it easier, and I think those are the kind of foundational steps that are really important. We also think that an important aspect that we heard from customers was that it was taking too long to get cards graded. So we're announcing a pilot scheme with CGC, and we will provide 24-hour turnaround on grading through CGC. So CGC will be on site with us, obviously still providing access to all the other the grading partners out there, but really piloting with CGC what it looks like for collectors to be able to get cards ingested and graded and in their vault within a couple of days rather than the 2 to 3 weeks that they'd seen previously. So we're excited about that as well. But this is really, as I said, just the first step. There's a lot more to come. And I think as we look to the future, it's really about how do we provide value-added tools for all of your collecting journey, and how do we make it easier to manage your collection? How do we make it easier for you to trade with peers? How do we make it more of a community around the things that you care about? How do we reward you for those actions? And so, over the coming months, we'll be rolling out, on a very, very frequent basis, more and more of these features. But I think the core thing for us initially was to get the foundations right and to build a product that was clean, was highly performant, that worked, where collectors want it, whether that's on web, whether that's on, Android, whether that's on iPhone, and just make sure that the experience was seamless.
Yeah, those are all really interesting points. You covered a lot of ground there. I want to dig in on a couple of things. As a customer of PWCC, I have noticed that when you, in the past, when you've searched the fixed price marketplace, it is a lot of listings that feel maybe stale. Maybe it feels like people put the cards up there with a price back in 2021 and they're still trying to sell the card for the 2021 price, which unfortunately probably not going to get that in today's market for most cards. And I actually got an email recently from PWCC. I believe it was something to the effect of like, after a fixed price listing stayed up there for 90 days, it's expiring and you have to kind of relist it and potentially reprice it as part of that process. Is that part of the idea of let's make the fixed price marketplace a lot more fresh and maybe price relevant?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And what we were hearing from collectors was the word dynamic more and more, which was they want a marketplace which is representative of like what's happening in the market. They want options for where they can buy and sell, but they want to be able to search for listings at a good price. They want to be able to upload cards at volume and at scale in some cases, and have pricing support as they do that. So those are all things that we built into the new product, and we think that's going to have a big impact on just making fresh, well-priced inventory available for collectors, and hopefully stimulate that part of the product to get people coming back day after day to both list and sell. I mean, that's the interesting thing about the hobby, right? Is like it's not only a two-sided marketplace, but it's one of those rare instances where the same person sits on both sides of the marketplace. So, that creates this really fun loop that if you start to get traction and start to serve both parts of the marketplace well, then you start to grow pretty rapidly. And we've actually seen that with some of the small improvements that we've made on fixed price marketplace, even over the last few months as we geared up for this new launch.
You mentioned the word trading when you were talking about the app a few minutes ago. That's a word that I have not heard one of the major marketplaces ever say or embrace. It's you've got these trading apps that have popped up, different services that are specific to trading, and then you've got marketplaces, which traditionally have all been about the buy and sell, because that's how they make their money, right? They make their commission cut off of the card being transacted for a dollar fee. Combining the two, a large marketplace combining the two, there are some of the trading platforms which offer buy and sell as well, but a large marketplace combining the two seems like kind of an interesting strategy. It's nothing that someone like eBay has ever, attempted or likely will ever attempt. How much of a part of your roadmap is that? Because I feel like that could be kind of an interesting value proposition for you.
Yeah, we agree, right? I think, you said at the top of the call, Geoff, which we truly believe in as well, is that there's been a lack of innovation in the space. And I think what we've seen traditionally is, people have solved parts of the puzzle and tried to build, businesses out of parts of the puzzle. And, we think that overall, the best way to build value in the products that we build is to provide value to the collectors, right? And I mean, that sounds like an obvious statement, but a lot of trading occurs day to day, but without the trust factor that often exists through a platform. And I think we recognize that people may want to list cards, or they may want to transact with somebody just on a one-to-one basis, and we want to support those use cases. I think what we've looked at is the kind of ecosystem as a whole, and spent thousands of hours talking to collectors and trying to identify some of the core pain points. And when it came to peer-to-peer trading, what we kept hearing from collectors is they just want a very simple, trustworthy, easy, and frankly low cost, if cost, option to be able to trade cards with one another, or buy and sell from one another on a one-to-one basis, without having to send cards across the country hoping they're going to get payment, or send payment and hoping they're going to get the cards. So as you said, there are some products in the market that exist today, but we think it's an interesting opportunity, and it's something that we're excited to provide for collectors over the coming months.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Of course, since you've got the vault, you've got the ability to facilitate those types of transactions in real time and give people security in knowing that the card's actually going to, move and that it is what it is and everything like that. So there's definitely some inherent advantages to you offering that. That will be something to look forward to. I wanted to touch on grading because I think this was news that I had not heard before. So we might be breaking some news here about the fact that CGC is going to be part of Fanatics Collect, in the sense that you're going to be able to offer, I think you said 24-hour turnaround grading for people who submit cards to the PWCC vault and then want them graded through CGC. CGC has had a lot of success on the trading card game side. They have struggled to gain market traction on the sports card side. This could maybe be a game changer for them. It's also perhaps a bit of a game changer for you. I suspect this is a partnership that you probably were pretty excited, maybe both sides were really excited to bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited about it. And listen, like, we would love a world where all of the major grading companies had on-site grading with us. Like, we see this as just a great value add for collectors. As you and I both know too well, like, it often is, frustrating sending a card away to be graded and having to wait weeks for it to come back, right? Particularly when, we have, a world where, people are wanting to buy and sell and have liquidity in short order. So I think from that point of view, this is a great pilot. We're excited about it. We're excited to be working with CGC in a more integrated way. But I think this is something that we would like to do with more of the grading companies. And, it's hopefully in short order not going to be just CGC in this bucket. But we think it's going to be a big value add for collectors. And we think it's going to really allow people just that speed and that quick turnaround to get a card graded in the vault or in the marketplace really, really fast. So we're excited about that one.
There's so many interesting dynamics in our hobby, right? There's so many, and I guess this is true in a lot of businesses, but especially a lot of industries, but especially in a tight industry like ours. You have collectors and PSA who in many ways are big competitors to what you're doing, because they've got their own vault, the collector's vault, which they're trying to build up. They now have a marketplace integration with eBay, which recently rolled out. eBay recently acquired Golden from collectors. So there's a lot of tie-in now between collectors and PSA, and you guys are building a lot of that ecosystem infrastructure of your own vault, your own marketplace, continuing to try to grow in that direction. Yet at the same time, you have a grading partnership with PSA. You're saying that you would love to see, more grading company options become available on site, quicker turnaround. So I know there's been, Fanatics has been doing some specials and promotions with PSA and with SGC in the past, which is now owned by collectors. So it's so kind of interwoven. Do you have a good strategic relationship with them? How much is the competition versus the partnership? Do you see them as your top competitor, or how does this all play out between these mega companies in this space?
It's funny. The last person I was texting before I jumped on the podcast was Nat, right? We have a great relationship. I think what I really respect about, what Nat is, building at PSA, or, a large part is built, right, is trying to super serve the collector, right? And that's what we're trying to do as well. And I think, our macro business as Fanatics Collectibles is, deeply obviously rooted in the trading card space and sports trading cards in particular. And, I think from that point of view, anything we can do to innovate and move the hobby forward and provide value for collectors is great. But we also love to see everybody else in the industry innovate and up their game, because, the better the experience for collectors, whether that's super serving collectors of today, or more importantly, bringing new people into the hobby, the better for all of us, right? And, sat here with you on the call, I'm sure you agree with that, right? The more we can do to make this an accessible and exciting place to be, the better. So we see our job as a small part is to innovate and to try to drive things forward, but nothing makes me happier when I see other companies doing it as well.
Yeah. Well, I agree. It's the more the overall pie can grow, and the better for everybody, obviously. And And, competition forces innovation, and we're seeing more innovation right now, and probably in the last couple of years and in the next couple of years, we will have seen more innovation in this hobby than probably in the last 30 or 40 years combined.
Totally. And listen, that's what excited me about this. I obviously you mentioned at the top of the call, like, I came out of some pretty innovative companies, and when I looked at the collectibles space as a whole, it just felt ripe for disruption and innovation, right? I think there was clearly one of the most passionate communities around the hobby that exists across many pastimes, right? And that's one of the beauties, right? It's one of the few industries that I've worked in where I'll meet someone at an event or a dinner or in passing. We'll have a conversation about Fanatics Live or PWCC, and the next thing I know is I'll wake up the next morning to a 2,000 word email with suggestions and thoughts, and like that's the passion. And like as somebody who builds products, that is a gift. And I think from my point of view, seeing the hobby where it was a couple of years ago when I first got involved professionally, and seeing where it is now, there's been big strides forwards. But listen, I think we're just getting started, and I think there's so much more to come. And I think over the next 5-10 years, I think there's a huge opportunity to continue to build out and innovate and bring new people to the hobby, but also, as I said earlier, like super serve the folks that have been here for decades. So an exciting time.
It's definitely an exciting time. Now, when you joined Fanatics, when you made the leap from the tech world over to the collectibles world and you joined Fanatics, you were leading Fanatics Live. And if I recall, you helped get Fanatics Live off the ground, led the launch of Fanatics Live and everything of that nature. That was prior to Fanatics' acquisition of PWCC and the kind of the vision, I think, for Fanatics Collect. Now you're leading the charge for both, for Fanatics Collect and Fanatics Live. Are those merging? Are they coming together in some way, or are they kind of remaining separate platforms like they are today?
Yeah, so if you look at the kind of portfolio, if you like, that I oversee here, we have Tops.com, which falls into kind of my remit. We obviously have Fanatics Live, which, as you mentioned, we took from 0 to 1 and launched a year ago. We've got PWCC, which will obviously, is now Fanatics Collect. And I think, bringing those together is probably a very natural step over time. The first things that we're doing there is making it easy for people to kind of switch between the products. So we'll be having a single login. So if you're a Fanatics Live customer, you'll be able to log into Fanatics Collect without signing up again. You'll be able to sign into Tops.com without signing up for an account again. Over time, we'll have a single wallet. We'll have single rewards and loyalty schemes across the products. And from my point of view, I think having that single view of the customer is really helpful, because we can start to understand their behaviors, what they're interested in, and start to build products which are personalized or suit their needs in a better way. So I think there's a lot of value to be had from bringing these together. Our intention today is not to merge them, but I think what you'll see over time is these very seamless jump off points and touch points between the products, so that if you hit cards on Fanatics Live and you want to send them to be graded, or you want to sell them on the marketplace, we make that a very seamless transition. If you buy cards on the marketplace, and you want to potentially sell them to breakers so they can sell them as singles on Fanatics Live, we might make that a seamless transition, etc. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to explore there. Again, we're kind of still at the foundational steps, but more to come. And I think over time, where it makes sense, we will bring the products closer together.
Yeah, and I know when Fanatics originally acquired Topps and got the or even before the Topps acquisition, when Fanatics originally acquired the licenses from the sports leagues, we're going back a few years ago now, and that big announcement was made, Michael Rubin spoke. His first public statement, he said after that, was how his vision was to have kind of a fully integrated ecosystem where essentially he owned the entire ecosystem, where Fanatics owned all of the ecosystem. And as I'm hearing you talk, and I'm hearing you talk about, well, we've got the live marketplace, we've got the website marketplace, we've got a grading capability, even though that may not be something you own. Obviously you're the manufacturer in Topps. Cards can kind of flow from, the manufacturer to the breaker on the live platform, from the breaker to the vault, from the vault to the collect marketplace, maybe the grader in between. It does feel like this is becoming a very integrated kind of holistic experience for the collector. It feels to me like that vision Michael Rubin originally had is kind of playing out here in real time.
Well, listen, I think where it makes sense, we want to make it as seamless as possible. But listen, I think, optionality, I think, is key because I think it encourages us to innovate more and to work harder for our customers and collectors. So I think what we're not going to do is try to create a kind of walled garden where people can't easily get in and out, right? So I think that's an important step. We do want to provide that optionality to collectors. But yeah, where it makes sense, and from everything that we hear from collectors on a day-to-day basis, they want that ease and that simplicity and that seamless ability to transact and to move across products in a very integrated way. So I think it's about getting a balance of giving people optionality, but also making it as seamless as possible. And we'll try to do that effectively.
It makes sense. There's a lot of friction points to collecting, especially for new collectors. It's when I got back into this 6 or 7 years ago, I experienced a lot of those friction points, and I'm like, man, it's from everything from how you're acquiring the boxes or cards to begin with, to how you're understanding what you're acquiring and what cards you should be acquiring, to then if you want to sell something, the process by which you're selling it, how you're doing that, the grading. There were a lot of different aspects of it, the storage of it, that were back then very separate components, didn't really work together. You had to put that all together and do all that labor yourself. And the idea of just making that flow more simple, if somebody wants it to be, not everybody wants it to be. Certain collectors want to do things certain ways. But if somebody wants the flow to be more simple, to be able to take some of those frustrations out of the process and make the whole thing more frictionless, I think is just good common sense, business approach. It certainly is creating a better customer experience. And I know customer experience is something that you all are focused on.
There's one thing saying that from a digital product point of view, which I think is definitely true. I think one of the core value aspects that we saw with PWCC was the vault. You mentioned this earlier on, but I for one am sick of doing the trip back and forth to the post office as I go to send cards or to get graded or send them to folks that have bought them. And I know my wife for one is also sick of me getting boxes and boxes and boxes through that sit and open during the week until I get a chance on a Saturday morning to open them and admire my new cards or look through the cards that I hit on a break. So I think there's a lot that can be done there as well, just to enhance the physical logistics of opening and shipping and moving cards around the country in a more seamless way. So I think that's something that hopefully we can start to unlock and make easier and easier for collectors over the next couple of years.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. So for anybody listening who maybe hasn't tried PWCC in the past or Fanatics Collect, obviously it's brand new. So, people are just getting their head around this now. How should they get started? Should they go download the app? How should they find out more about this and maybe give this a try?
Yeah, fanaticscollect.com or available in the Play Store and the App Store. Most importantly, please don't just give it a try. Please give us your feedback. The one thing that I've learned, as I said earlier on, is that people in the hobby are certainly not shy about sharing opinions and being vocal, but that's an absolute gift. So tell us what you think. Tell us how we can make it better. This is just the start, and we're going to keep going until we make something that is awesome and hopefully collectors love.
Awesome. And my final question, Nick, we are right up against the national, obviously one of the biggest card events of the year. And then just 3 weeks after that, we have Fanatics Fest. Is there anything that collectors should look forward to? Will Fanatics Collect have a presence at both of these events, and what should collectors look forward to in terms of that?
Yeah, so I know you had Lance on the show recently, so I'm not gonna try and butcher his pitch for FanFest. We're super excited about that. Fanatics Collect, Fanatics Live. Obviously, Tops will have a presence at both Fanatics Fest and the National. So come and see us. Come and say hello. Again, give us your feedback in person if you see us, and we're excited to see everyone there.
Nick, this has been a pleasure. Appreciate all the info, and best of luck with the launch. I'm excited to see how all this plays out, and excited to hear about the innovation you're bringing to the hobby.
Thank you. And Geoff, we're excited to see you cross the milestone, so I'll be keeping an eye out.
Go.
All right.
All right. Well, I'll sell some more cards this week.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Take care, Nick.